Folks, how y'all doing? It's Pawpaw again. This video ain't no big old funny thing to laugh at and all that kind of stuff, but I think it might move you. I hope it does. First thing I want to report is on my friend David. If y'all have been with my channel a long time, you know that my friend David likes to go fishing with me, and we spend time together. Well, past 2 years he ain't been able to spend time with nobody. He's been getting pretty poorly, and come to find out that a few months ago he was told he got cancer, colon cancer. And I told y'all a little bit about it, like a month ago, say, please pray for my buddy. And I didn't want to get too personal into what the problem was. Well, the type of cancer he's got, only about 5% of the people survive. I don't like to say 95% of people that have it die, but 5% of the people that have it survive. That's all. And he's taking it as well as anybody could take being told you're going to die, mother. You're going to die. But I need y'all to pray for him, and I know that prayer works because he told me he could tell the last time that y'all were out there asking the Lord to help him. Well, I have proof that God is real. And I would like to tell you an experience that I had. And it's just, and my wife will tell you verbatim, it's the truth. Every word I'm about to tell you. We were attending Bethel College in McKenzie, Tennessee. This is in the mid-'80s. And I had a little home repair business going on, trying to do whatever I could, support my wife and I and 3 kids. We had 2 of them while going to college. But anyway, I was painting houses, I was doing roofing, fixing the rotten bathroom floors, just whatever I could do to make a dollar. And we had a security guard at Bethel College, a man named Calvin. And old Calvin, he was, I believe he told me he was 61 or 62 years old. But he was pretty crippled up as far as he had had a heart attack, and he was having to be careful what he did. And so I knew he didn't have much money. I said, if you want to help me on a job, I'll be happy to pay you. And I had a little step ladder, just a little step ladder, a 5 or 6 foot ladder. And I told him if he could go up 2 or 3 steps there, he could paint that trim around that porch. It wasn't 15, 20 minutes. He come back to me, he says, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to be able to do it. He says, I get dizzy. I said, oh man, I'm sorry. Oh, it's all right, it ain't your fault. So apparently people, once they get on up in years, they start, their equilibrium gets messed up. I found myself stumbling around every now and then myself. But anyway, I really felt for a little feller. And my wife worked at Big John's Bakery in McKenzie, Tennessee. Big John's grocery store had a bakery in it, like Walmart's do. And the managers there would let me buy steaks and stuff, pennies on the dollar, if they just started to turn just a little bit gray. Because people wouldn't buy them if they had a little gray on them, which ain't a thing in the world wrong with it, but they just didn't. So they would end up grinding it, having to unwrap it, grind it up into ground beef, and then repackage it and sell it. They said, hell, they just didn't sell it to me for 15 cents on the dollar to fool with it. So hell, I'd buy steaks, you know. Well, occasionally when I catch over, my wife and I lived on campus. Every now and then I'd say walk around there on campus and I'd say, here, put this in your car. It'd be a couple of nice steaks wrapped up. He said, oh, what? He says, let me pay you for them. I said, no. Here, just take them. And I found that as I would give to the needy, I would get rewarded with, jobs and stuff. Just 20 times what I had given to somebody, I'd get it back in work. So Christmas time rolled around, and my parents drove up from Lawrence County, Tennessee, up to Bethel College in McKenzie. If I remember right, it's about a 3-hour drive. But anyway, they came up, gave the children the Christmas presents and all that, and then they up and left. My mother was like that. So I was sitting there, I told my wife, I said, honey, it just don't feel like Christmas. She says, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to take Calvin some food. Him and his wife, they lived in the projects. He didn't have shit for money. Sold Social Security check and a few hours there at the college pretending to be a security guard. And we were living in a 10-foot by 40 or 45-foot house trailer, little old dinky thing. And it had the kitchen on one end, and it had them little cabinets about that high, run around the top there, and little bit of cabinets underneath the kitchen sink, and that's it. And had a little refrigerator that had a freezer compartment. It was a one-door refrigerator that had a freezer compartment. Didn't have a freezer section with a separate door. And because she worked at the bakery there at Big John's, I would get white plastic food grade buckets with lids that the donut mix had come in, or cake mixes or whatever. And they give their buckets to me. Well, another thing that they would do is when they would stock shelves, if they dropped something like a bag of flour, bust a corner and it's leaking a little bit of flour, they take a meat counter and wrap it up in that heat shrink, and put it in a cart to inventory and put in an incinerator. And I started intercepting that stuff and buying the flour, 5 or 10 pound bag of flour for a nickel or a dime, and same thing with canned goods. Like I said, with steaks, I was getting steaks for next to nothing. And so I took him 5-gallon buckets, and I had them level full. I'd have sugar in one bucket, flour in a bucket, cornmeal in a bucket. So these buckets were full to the rim. You couldn't put a cup of powder in none of them. And I had canned goods up in the cabinet, had steaks in a little freezer compartment. And I said, I want to take Calvin some food. So we got out 2 cardboard boxes about this big, 2 or 3, regardless. And I just started filling them boxes full of food. I was taking paper sacks and scooping out sugar and flour and cornmeal into bags, you know, like give them like 10 pounds or whatever. 10 pounds of sugar, 10 pounds of cornmeal, 10 pounds of flour. And ended up filling up 2 cardboard boxes and 3 grocery bags full of food for them. And I drove over to the projects to give it to them. And I knocked on the door. He said, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "Good." He said, "Come in." I said, "I can't yet. I got something out here in the truck for you." He said, "What is it?" I said, "Well, I'll bring it in." So I started bringing in the food. And he and his wife were just overwhelmed. They just didn't know how to take it. And he says, "Oh my goodness." I said, "Well, unpack it." I said, "Some of it's got to go in the freezer." So he put away what was perishable. We sat around and talked a little while. And as I was leaving, as I was about to get in the truck, he come to the door and he says, "Bob," he said, "God will bless you for helping poor people." And I says, "Calvin, you ain't poor if you got friends." Well, me and the wife, we drive back to the trailer. And we go in there, and I'm looking around, and I told my wife, I said, "Come here." She said, "What?" Opened up the freezer, refrigerator, the little freezer. You couldn't put a pack of hamburger meat in that freezer. And we had took steaks and hamburger meat out of it. That freezer was full. Opened up the cabinets. The cabinets were full to the front edge of canned goods. I opened the buckets, and they were level full. I get teared up every time I tell this. There was nothing missing. Everything had been replenished in my home. So I know God is real, and He listens to prayers, and He rewards good behavior. And I sure hope y'all pray for my buddy David, because he needs all the help he can get. Y'all have a wonderful day and a better tomorrow. Bye, everybody.